you know what? The gloves are off. I'm back, second time around. So listen to what he says in this Newsmax clip. I think this was with Finnerty. Let's listen in and hear what Trump is saying, because Hillary, you're on notice.
New emails, Mr. President, suggest essentially that Hillary Clinton personally approved the Russia hoax.
With Obama.
With Barack Obama. And my question is she finally going to pay for what she did, or does she get a pass again?
So, you know, we had her, and I had her right under the sights, and I told the people, look, you can't do this to a president's wife, an ex-president, and she was Secretary of State, right. But you can't do this to the wife of a president. And
do you still feel that way?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about it in a second. If you remember, I was at a rally, and it was after the election, and they said, lock her up, and I said, no, look, we won, just relax. And I didn't do what other people would have done, what they would have done. And then they went after me, and they meant it. I said, you know, it's amazing. I always felt that you shouldn't be doing this stuff. And I let Hillary off the hook. I totally left her off the hook. And then I let her off the hook for what? And then I come in, and they did the same thing to me. The difference is they actually meant it. And they hurt a lot of people, and it was all a hoax. And now they have it in black and white. No, I think they should pay a price.
How directly?
By the way, it's a very big price. It could be the biggest scandal in the history of our country, but it continues onward. And that continues onward. You know, that scandal has continued from the beginning. They have everything they do is a hoax. They're no good at anything other than some forms of nasty politics.
So it does seem to me he's putting Hillary Clinton on notice. That was pretty clear. He said they should pay a price. He wants them to pay a price. So he's demanding this accountability, including from the likes of Hillary Clinton. And this is him the other day saying the Russia hoax is totally undisputed. The facts are in there. It's black and white. It's the biggest scandal in American history. The perpetrators of this crime must pay a big price. This can never be allowed to happen in the country again. He put these out on social media. So he's been very active on this. And then, of course, you heard what he said to Newsmax. So he's demanding some accountability, right? He wants some accountability. And it's important, frankly, for America that we get that accountability. Reminder, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff, because it's very important. We need to be able to continue having a voice here so that you're able to demand, frankly, accountability too. It's all about transparency and knowing what's going on. I want to go to Kash Patel. Some of you saw this the other day. He actually recently was talking about those burn bags, some things that he's found in FBI headquarters, something that Tulsi's taking very seriously. And if you think about this, and I'm going to show you something else, a little preview of it, Radcliffe over at the CIA saying we're going to unclassify more stuff. Listen, this is not going to be good for these guys.
Me, as the director of the FBI, the former Russiagate guy, when I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building, full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of. Locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place.
What?
Yeah. So my guys are going through that right now.
What's in there?
A lot of stuff. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, well, okay, go arrest him. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you let me run a methodical investigation?
So at this point, it does sound like there's going to be some accountability, right? So he's got these quote unquote burn bags. They are saying they're going to release more intelligence. And some of the things that have come up is the question of whether or not there's a statute of limitations that would come into effect. And I want to show you a clip from a guy who's very, very smart, right? He's big advisor to the president, Stephen Miller, former attorney, and very, very sort of skilled on a lot of these legal issues. It's one of the reasons why they're having the success that they're having right now. I want you to hear what he has to say about statute of limitations. I would be very nervous right now if I were Brennan, Comey, Hillary, the whole kit and caboodle of them, all of them are in jeopardy.
Hour and the moment for accountability so that we can reclaim this democracy, Maria.
Well, do you believe we will actually get accountability? We've been demanding accountability now for a decade. Our audience is well aware that this is the biggest political scandal we have ever seen, and an effort to undermine and take down a duly elected president. But now we want to see the tricksters face the consequences. Will they?
I have complete confidence in the Department of Justice to follow these facts, to follow this new, further avalanche of evidence, and to take all the necessary legal steps to ensure that the wrongdoers, the coup plotters, the schemers, and the insurrectionists are held fully accountable under the laws and Constitution of these United States. Yes, Maria, I believe that.
Now, last weekend, John Ratcliffe, CIA director who is a former prosecutor, former DNI, told us that that the statute of limitations, the 5-year statute, does not apply when it comes to conspiracy. And he says the conspiracy is ongoing because they still won't admit it. The conspiracy is still happening. So what is your take on what Ratcliffe told us last week?
Oh, he's completely right. So several of the statutes I mentioned, we have not even come close to eclipsing the statute of limitations. But more than that, it is an ongoing and continuing conspiracy. It continued through the entirety of President Trump's first term. It continued through the entirety of President Biden's term in office. And it continues to this day. There are still deep state coup plotters who are trying to conceal and hide this information on behalf of the people they are protecting. There are still staffers in Democrat offices who know the full truth, who are concealing that truth. So all of this behavior, all of this conduct collectively means the conspiracy hasn't ended, is ongoing. Comey in particular has throughout the years engaged in conduct and lies, public statements, and testimony in front of Congress. False testimony whose sole purpose was to perpetuate and continue the conspiracy. So I have every hope and expectation that the Department of Justice, under the leadership of our courageous Attorney General, will follow these facts and follow the evidence and deliver justice. Because if we have a country where we can continue to have FBI careerists and CIA careerists, deep staters who will fabricate and doctor evidence, who will create and produce fake material, fabricated material, phony information to try to go after their political enemies up to and including the president. If we continue to create the impression and the reality that there is not a criminal, a severe criminal penalty for such conduct, it will never stop. It will never desist. It will keep on going forever. And we will continue to have a country that is sabotaged endlessly by the production of fake documents, fake material, fake plots against democratically elected officials. We can't have that. There must be consequences.
Well, I mean, it's just extraordinary to me that the mainstream media has...
So Miller really calling it out there on Maria. She's terrific. I worked with her at both CNBC and Fox, and she's a good egg, and she's been all over this story as well for now. I mean, we're going on 10 years, for goodness sakes, guys. I mean, I can't believe that we're still talking about this, right? And you may feel that way too. And that's why I'm saying, like, they've got to have something in terms of accountability. As far as the statute of limitations, it's a very interesting take. In other words, they're saying because it's been ongoing, because it hasn't changed, because they've continued to spin the same stupid narrative over and over and over again. You know, quite recently in the run up to this election, that statute of limitations is not over. And so as a result, yeah, you're probably going to see indictments. Radcliffe making that clear, as Maria pointed out just a weekend before, saying that the indictments of even Hillary Clinton could be coming forth soon. So that's important to think about and to keep an eye on. And I would guess just from, you know, the perspective of what's right for the American people and making sure that something like that does not happen again, that's where you want that accountability.